Welcome into this edition of Hand Raised Guys, presented by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. I am Neal McCready. That is Chase Parham. We'll be with you for as long as you guys kind of want us to be with you. It's, to be perfectly honest, the energy level is, you have a
little
concerned
low
look on
for
your
us
face.
right now. It looked like the camera was cutting me off more than normal.
I think you're too far this way. No, you need to go that way. Yep, see?
Okay.
Go back another roll of your chair. One more time, and you're good. Nope, the other way. Yep.
All right.
See that?
Okay.
There you go.
Fair enough. I was just staring at it.
Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. We're with you for a little bit. You can get in touch with people at Comer, at Southern. I know a lot of you have. We certainly appreciate those of you that have. So do the people at Comer and Southern. It's January, so it's cold. It's going to be cold for the next couple of months. But you know what's coming. And you're probably not checking that air conditioning anytime soon. But sometime in the next month or so, you're going to want to, because you know what's coming if you live in the South. So get in touch with the people at Comer and Southern. Make sure it's good to go, because the worst thing in the world is the hot spell comes. You turn the air on and no go. Comer is 662-801-1777. That's in Oxford, Batesville, that area. If you are in the Memphis area, Hernando, DeSoto County, Olive Branch, whatever, Lewisburg, whatever fits, whatever makes you happy, 662-429-4429. This will be the Friday Oxford Exxon podcast. Chase, what's going on at Oxford Exxon?
When you head on in, whether it be here, up and down I-55, North Mississippi, whatever you'd like, you can get some ribs for dinner. Let them take care of it. They will take care of you. All you got to do is call ahead. They'll wrap them up, have them ready to go, wet or dry, there for you. Got lunch specials tomorrow. That's going to be spaghetti and meat sauce for your Friday. Any size fountain drink. Bread coming with that as well. I guess with pasta that's technically bread too. But you get a roll, get some cornbread, whatever you like there from the Oxford Exxon. So again, starting their 10th year with us. Appreciate them as always there at Blue Sky and the Oxford Exxon. It's been a while since we negotiated a contract very poorly in Andy Kennedy's office a decade ago, or I guess 9 months ago at this point.
Yeah. It was poor. I don't think either of us were really.
No. I'm joking.
Long-term.
I mean, it was a joke. We were. It was worth waiting goal at the time.
I mean, I walked out going, "Someone's going to pay us to do this?"
Oh, I know. It was like, hold on. I mean, you walked out and you went, "God, we got him." And you're going, "No, he didn't actually." Okay. Yeah.
Coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Speaking of people that have been with us for a long time, Corey Clark and the people at Clark Ford have been with us for a long time, almost as long as Ben and the people at Oxford Exxon and Craddock. Get in touch with Corey. Call 662-257-1900. Tell them what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes of business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is completely up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can use it as a gauge elsewhere. I mean, Corey's not going to know. It's okay. Or you can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do. That's hop into a Clark Ford today. The reason is, number one, you get a great product. Number two, and almost just as importantly, if not more importantly, you get great service well after the sale. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be a truck guy. He'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. 662-257-1900 is that number, 662-257-1900.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about that. I think Corey's in probably his 7th or 8th year at least with us at this point.
8th, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 8. And then Ben, it got started when we put on that golf tournament for the Park Stevens Scholarship Fund. Was the first time we did anything from a business standpoint with Ben, and started that friendship. I called him and said, need some help in different ways. Got the t-shirts done.
Didn't
got the
Freeze
food
play
done.
in that?
Freeze came out and spoke. I don't remember if he played, but he came out and did like
I think he just spoke.
He did like the introduction and the thank you and the whole.
Because it was the day before a game.
It was the day before a game. Yeah, it was the Friday before they played somebody in whatever year that was. It was cold.
Have you seen his new thing on Twitter?
Oh, no. What is it?
I saw it today. So he's got the dice in a cup, and he shakes them.
They're playing Yahtzee?
and he pours them out, and he goes, and it shows, Yahtzee.
Oh,
I've never
really?
played Yahtzee in my life.
Was complete luck. Like,
And he says, Yahtzee. And you're like, cheesy.
so that's the Auburn
That's
thing.
the
It's
new
going to
thing.
be Yahtzee.
Yahtzee.
That was Yahtzee was here too for a while, right?
I try to forget things. I've decided that I have selective memory, and I try to forget stuff. I've worked on recruiting all day today. People said there was no recruiting coverage. My God, there was recruiting coverage today. I tried.
There was recruiting
I
coverage.
tried. At this point, I really just want to talk to Jalen Catalan. I want
You
to,
really do. This has been sticking with you all day.
I just want to know that there's hope in the world, because Jalen and I actually know a lot of the same people. He coached the Cayo the Psi chapter, which is the chapter of the University of Arkansas. He coached their flag football team last year.
Okay.
And then he coached them again this year until he got hurt. And then he told the girls that he just needed to get away from football. Didn't need to be around football. And they replaced him with Jeff Conway, the former Tulane assistant.
Oh, yeah.
Who's retired and lives up there now.
It's been on the podcast.
And but anyway, obviously Jalen and I know a lot of the same people. And I've had some of those people reach out to Jalen, who's on an official visit at Purdue right now. But I've had a lot of those people reach out to Jalen like, hey, you can trust this guy. He's not going to burn you. He's going to just talk to you. So I'm hopeful, more for my own personal just faith in humanity, that
You talked to Jalen Catalan.
that we connect at some point over the weekend.
Speaking of Purdue, Seth Dagey, Ole Miss, I guess analyst, whatever we're calling him, he's headed to the Boilermakers.
Yep.
They're it sounds like for an elevated position. I did not see a position. Maybe you did. I don't know.
Tight end coach.
Okay.
He's
yeah,
on field.
Okay.
So it's a promotion.
Yeah. Took him from you guys, and we're gonna. Anyway, yeah.
Hey, seriously, big thanks to the Purdue rival site today.
Yeah.
I asked on 2 different occasions, hey, can you give me some stuff? And they did. They were great. So if they ever reach out to you about something, help them.
Okay. Purdue's good. We're
Purdue,
are they in our village? We're a very small village in Rivals, but are they in our village?
it's an incredibly small village. We are a major outlier.
It's a few of the larger sites, though. It's at least like there's some safety in numbers at least with that thing.
I'll just say that if they reach out to me and need some help, I'm gonna give it to them.
We work well with Oklahoma.
Yeah.
As much as there's some
Missouri.
Missouri.
Let's take this. Won't take long. Georgia.
As much as we kind of go back and forth, we're pretty good with Orange Bloods.
Yeah,
we do a good bit of back and forth with Orange Bloods. As much as it,
I get along with Jason.
Yeah, Sukumel's good.
Sukumel's a good dude.
Yeah.
So let's go over this. Who do we work well with? Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia.
Definitely Georgia.
Georgia for sure.
Yeah.
Purdue.
Kentucky.
Oh yeah, we get along great with them.
Yeah. Kentucky.
I'm a big Wildcat fan. Missouri. Get along with Gabe.
Yeah. Are you running out now?
The Alabama site to a degree.
We're fine.
They're fine. I don't really know who.
We don't know that it's changed. We don't know them the same way.
Yeah, I don't know who they are anymore.
I'm sure there are some new people who would be fine if we asked for something, but we do not necessarily.
The young guy, the Miami site,
really?
has reached out to me on several occasions.
Okay.
Basically seeking mentorship, which is terrifying on his part. But I have tried to help.
Okay.
I like him.
Nice. What's he want?
How to build advertising, how to build some of the outside revenue streams.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hitting some brick walls now. I'll be honest. I'm doing some stuff in my head, and it's either they're not here anymore, or
I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, one or the other.
Yeah.
At this point,
I'm literally thinking.
But that's a few of the top 5-6 sites. So I'm saying you got there's some girth in there.
Yeah.
Vandy. Oh yeah, sorry, Chris.
Yeah, Chris is awesome. Chris helped me today.
Yeah, Vandy.
Chris is a good dude. It's a shame Chris is stuck with Vanderbilt because
if I could just pick up Chris and move him to LSU or somewhere, that would be great. If we could just take Chris and put him somewhere else, That would be fantastic.
I do okay with some of the people at LSU. They're okay. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like them generally.
They were good at LSU week.
Yeah,
They were good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No problems at all. The Texas Tech people, incredibly nice.
Oh yeah, they're
last
good
week.
too. See,
They were perfectly fine last
Texas
week.
Tech was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of places where I'm hated. I'm hated at the Auburn site. I'm hated at the Arkansas site.
Oh yeah, we're fine with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah,
they're
Kelly's
fine.
fine.
Yeah, I like Kelly.
Kelly's fine.
Kelly's good dude.
And I'm going to actually, real quick, while we're doing this, and I know we're doing the podcast, but there is overlap on the message board. I know whatever, but I'm going to defend Russell Johnson here. He legitimately helped on this Mike Wright thing. There was no issue at all between anything to do with Russell this week. It was completely professional and above board and fine. There was nothing. He was incredibly helpful with Mike. Frankly, he told me the exact truth, and I softened it a little because I couldn't get confirmation on a couple things.
Yeah.
He was 100% correct. So I saw a couple threads about that today. Russell was fine.
There's information about there being potentially another Purdue, maybe even 2 visitors. The guys at Purdue didn't know. I've been unable to confirm it through independent sourcing. Keith Niebuhr is reporting that Johnson, the defensive lineman from Purdue, is down to Ole Miss and Auburn. Keith is tremendous. He works for On3. He used to work for us.
Yeah, good dude.
Good dude. He's very, very
worker now.
Works his ass off. Really dialed in. So if Keith is reporting it, it's likely.
I'll take his word.
It's likely true. I just have not independently confirmed it. I've tried. And maybe I'm going to get up in the morning. I've already written this on the board. I'm going to get up in the morning early and come up here with a large container of coffee and write a recruiting preview weekend. Most of the quotes, you've already read them. If you read the thread, if you're a recruiting junkie, they're there. I'll put it into some sort of a story form and put it out. And maybe by the morning, I'll have something on him one way or the other.
Okay.
Thank you, Grind, for the super chat. It's very nice. He says, hope 2023 is a great year for everyone.
Us too.
Yeah, us too. Sure. Absolutely.
We didn't talk about it today, or really this week. Among the NFL Hall of Fame finalists, Patrick Willis, think he's going to get in?
Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame player.
Well, no doubt player. His lack of longevity is the only negative about his tenure at this point.
I suspect that's going to become less and less of a deal as we go.
Most people believe he will get in.
Yeah, I think he gets in. Who else is a finalist? I heard the offensive tackle that played Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
He is a Hall of Famer.
A terrific player.
So, okay, here's your ballot. For the NFL Hall of Fame, you've got Jared Allen, who was the defensive end for a long time. Known as a Viking, probably, if you had to put a team on him.
Yeah.
Willie Anderson, offensive tackle.
Yes.
Was a Bengal and a Raven for a long time.
Yes, Hall of Famer.
Rondé Barber, the Bucks defensive back.
Iffy.
In his first year of eligibility, Dwight Freeney for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Devin Hester, the kick returner.
Eventually.
Back.
Eventually, probably. Probably not a first time around.
Torrey Holt, receiver for the Rams.
Same thing.
Really good receiver. Great receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the Hall of Very Good.
Yeah. Andre Johnson, wide receiver. Was the best in the league for several years.
Yeah.
What's going to be interesting in this as time moves on is how to rate wide receivers, especially per their era, because his numbers were much more considerable in like a 2006 than they would be today.
Right.
Relative to the same thing. Albert Lewis, cornerback for the Chiefs, for the Raiders. Darrelle Revis is in his, I think, first year of eligibility. The corner.
He's pretty close.
Oh no,
that's pretty good.
That was a lockdown right there for a while now.
For sure.
Joe Thomas.
Yeah, for sure.
Zach Thomas, the linebacker for the Dolphins.
Probably.
DeMarcus Ware, linebacker.
No.
Patrick Willis.
Yes.
Reggie Wayne, wide receiver, Indianapolis Colts.
His problem is that he was the second best receiver on his team.
Yeah, I think it's really good, great career, but not quite. And Darren Woodson, safety, Cowboys, 92-03.
Maybe.
There's a lot of dudes in that
A lot
list.
of dudes. A lot of what kind of guys who can play football.
A lot of dudes in that list. I mean, that's
a hard group.
But there's a few that. I mean, if I had to say, let's say 5.
It's Willis, Thomas,
Freeney,
Revis,
and one
Freeney,
more.
and
I'll take your pick on who you like.
One of the guys at the beginning of the list, I think.
Willie Anderson or somebody.
Yeah, Anderson. He was a stud.
I think that's the list. I think Andre Johnson has a chance to get in before his career is over.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of these guys have a chance before it's over.
It's a really strong group. Are they limited to how many?
I have not seen that. The Athletic this morning picked 5 like that mattered, but I don't know whether that mattered or not. But I did see this morning where they had grabbed 5.
It's kind of like the baseball thing. There was some stuff about the Baseball Hall of Fame today that was pretty interesting. Like the case for Carlos Beltran, the case against Carlos Beltran, the whole cheating thing. I just think Carlos Beltran was a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, he was dominant for a long time. In my mind, it's how bad did I want somebody to be a Cub? And Beltran was like bad for a long time.
Beltran, really?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the guys?
Yeah, for sure. Had an absolute man crush on Carlos Beltran for the better part of a decade.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Stud. Terrific player.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Great news in the NFL today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very rare that we get a piece of news that you hear it and you're like, damn, that's awesome.
By the way, real quick, just because I was curious, because I wanted to make our village bigger, I'm going through the database as you're talking.
Okay.
Chris Peak at Pitt. Pitt.
Oh, yeah, good dude.
Yeah,
we're
great with Pittsburgh.
We're good with Pitt.
You got something going on there? We're fine. Again, go ahead. You notice I skipped a lot of SEC teams as we got down the list. That was the one I wanted to pick out there in the ACC as we're going through that. Sorry, go ahead.
How many of those sites would
Richie at Rutgers? He's awesome.
Oh yeah, I meant to say Rutgers
phenomenal.
earlier.
He's
earlier.
Great.
We have a good deal with Rutgers.
Yeah, I wish there was a little more overlap there.
Like when the Davis and Igbenogson thing was going on, they were great.
Abram helped with Abram in basketball.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. Oh, NC State.
Really?
The dude at NC State's terrific. Like especially with basketball recruiting, he's fantastic.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I've never dealt with him.
I'm always like, man, I wish Ole Miss recruited better in basketball because he's really good.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
And he's like, he's a worker. He loves him some hoops.
Yeah, we don't speak the same language, so it's fine.
But sometimes he'll call, hey, did you hear about him? Like, I have no idea who you're talking about.
I don't know the Ohio State people, but
they
can't be worse than the former ones. So yeah, I'm great with Ohio State now because it's not
the new dudes.
It's
try
not
hard.
dipshit, whatever his name is.
They try hard.
Yeah, it's fine.
I invited them on the podcast. They never responded.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't very nice.
Who knows? Maybe they were busy.
Okay. Sorry, I'm screwing you up.
So Damar Hamlin, sometime last night, per multiple reports, also per the doctors, I guess they did a press conference. I don't have to cite a media outlet. Damar Hamlin, his eyes opened. He's been squeezing hands. He followed orders. He has a tube down his throat, so he can't talk yet. As of midday today, but he was able to write, presumably on a piece of paper or a board or something. He asked if the Bills won the game on Monday night, and the doctor said, yes, you won the game of life. I think he was informed. He's still somewhat sedated. He was informed that he's been out for 2 days. I think he was having a hard time grasping that. I don't think I watched the whole press conference. I don't think based on what the doctor said that he fully grasps yet what has happened and the response to it.
Because he's not fully allowed to even be fully
they probably don't want him to get emotional yet.
Yeah.
But they said that he is neurologically
intact,
which is I was told normal. One of the doctors in kind of layman's terms says all of his everything's firing.
Oh, really?
It's just fantastic news. It's remarkable news.
Because all of us prayed for and hoped for that, but you watch it during when it was going on, and you went, "Oh hell, I don't know."
I mean, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. What we didn't know was how long before he had a heartbeat. And I think today we got a little bit of a clue on the answer to that when the doctors there at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center said, hey, those Buffalo Bills trainers who got out there and realized quickly this is not a run-of-the-mill injury. He's not knocked out. He's not breathing. He doesn't have a stinger. He's fighting for his life. And the one doctor, Denny,
players have been naming him by name in the last 24 hours or so.
He basically jumped on him. Apparently, from what I've read tonight, jumped on him, took out, they call it the angel tool. All trainers have what's called an angel tool.
Okay.
And it quickly gets the face mask off the helmet.
Oh.
Super quick.
However it works.
It's some kind of a screw, but it's fast. Like, boom, it's off. And then he got his pads off. And he started compressing like within seconds. And look, it's his job. And I'm sure that if you asked him, hey, what'd you do? He would say, I did my job. But he saved Damar Hamlin's life. And he's the hero. And I'm so hopeful. I'm so proud of the Bills, right? For some of them naming this guy, going, hey, this is the dude. This is the guy. He stepped up in this big moment. But from all indications, and they said, the doctor said, hey, he's still critically ill. There's still healing to be done. But I don't think they hold that press conference today and say those things if they're not pretty damn confident that he's going to be okay. Might take a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Because one of the reporters asked about, when can he get back to a football field? And the doctors kind of were like, hey,
one thing at a time.
We ain't there yet, right? I mean, come on. But I think he's going to live. And I watched some of the reaction today from the Bills. I watched a locker room interview with T. Higgins, who looked like someone had taken the weight of the world and lifted it off of his shoulders. And from all indications,
you can't imagine.
From all indications, T. Higgins is just a fantastic young man, and he was super relieved. Saw where Josh Allen at his press conference specifically said, basically a shout out to T. Higgins, like, "Hey, I hope this gives him some relief. I hope he's able to relax."
Couple things here. Grind says we'll be back to normal. Did lack of oxygen cause brain damage? It does not appear so. I think that was basically what the doctors were trying to say today, is that his faculties appear to be normal.
What I heard them say, and then I've subsequently read it, is that the way he was treated on the field was, quote, textbook.
Yeah.
Someone made an analogy, and I'm trying to remember who it was because it was great. They talk about this all the time. Every preseason, they go through it, like literally with a dummy and an ambulance, and they race to the hospital with the police escort, the whole deal. Every club, you're required to do it. And every Sunday or Saturday or Monday or Thursday, whenever you play a game, before the game, this is part of the protocol. What do we do if a player codes? And it never happens. It never happens.
Yeah, sure.
And so you can just imagine how tempting and how easy it would be to be like,
go through the motions.
Hey, whatever. This is what I'm going to check my phone, check Twitter, what's up on Instagram. The analogy was, it's like, hey, we're going to run this trick play. Philly special, I think is what they called it. But whatever you want to call it. Triple reverse.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever.
Annexation of Puerto Rico.
The annexation of Puerto Rico play. Now, we're going to do it a couple of times a year in practice, in a walkthrough without the ball. Half speed. And then someone at the Super Bowl, you're in the Super Bowl fourth quarter, driving down the field, and the coach goes, hey, let's run annexation of Puerto Rico. Right now? Yeah, right now. Against the Steelers.
Yeah.
In a Super Bowl. Full speed. With the ball. On 2. Ready? Break.
And you execute it to perfection.
And then you run it. And it was like, hey, that's what happened. He goes down in the first quarter, and someone said that stadium in that moment, because Cincinnati was geeked for this game, right? So Monday night, and Cincinnati had scored. They'd held Buffalo to a field goal, which was a victory, and they're driving again. Higgins catches that ball. He's across the 50. I mean, they're smelling some – it's the wrong analogy.
Yeah.
They smell a victory. That place, I was told from people who were there, I talked to a friend who was in the game at the stadium. He said in that play, man, it was deafening. Okay? And he goes down. The Bengals were like hustling they were trying to go. Because Higgins admitted today, at first he thought he was flopping.
Mm-hmm.
Like faking an injury to slow them down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, but think about that. Every second matters. Because he's on the field, and for lack of a better term, he's dead. Every second matters. And they recognized it, got out there, and in all of that chaos, saved his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hell of a story. It's luckily for us, I mean, fantastic. It's going to be a great story. But how easy it could have been for them not to hear it, for them not to realize how serious it was, to lose a minute. And they didn't. They didn't lose seconds. They were out there within seconds. Within a minute, they were giving him CPR.
Yeah. Kyle, thanks for the super chat as always. Appreciate you all the time. He says, do you think this will lead to rule changes for more medical help being mandatory on the sidelines? I think they've got a great textbook plan in place. I think, like as Neal said, it's about executing it. And what you would hope happens is at all levels of the football, they look at the way they're going to do things, they become a little more observant, and everybody's completely as prepared as possible moving forward, high school, college,
Right.
Europe, wherever
Right.
at that point.
Feel pretty good when the Packers and the Lions play.
Yeah.
That they're ready to go, right?
Yeah.
When the Cowboys and the Eagles play, they're ready to go. What you worry about now that you've seen this and you realize what happened is, what if this had happened in Sam Houston State versus McNeese? What if this happened ULM versus Arkansas State? Is everybody good? Do they have the shock? They had to shock him.
Yeah, they had to use the A, whatever it is.
The AED or whatever it's called. They had to shock him. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. I mean, because the doctor was asked, is it safe to say that without the prompt response that there's a different outcome here? And those two doctors said, yeah, it's really safe to say. I mean, doctors aren't going to use words like that, but yeah, he dies otherwise.
I mean, as was said that night, outside of the hospital in NFL field, about the best place in the world for that kind of thing to happen. I mean,
well, literally.
Literally.
It's ambulance on call. You had the Bengals.
Highly specialized doctors all over the place.
You had the Bengals people. You had the Bills people who had gone through all the protocols.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills people specifically named the Bengals people today. Like, man, they were ready.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it was they worked. They immediately coordinated. And then you had independent medical people who weren't affiliated with either team. And they were ready. I mean, they knew what they were doing. I mean, it was, for the NFL protocols, it was a victory.
Oh, yeah. You got a bad league, Chauncey. He said it's my fantasy. He said he was down 1 point in his fantasy league with Josh Allen as his quarterback to win the championship. His league says he loses, so he's going to send the money to the guy's charity. Is that wrong? No, your league's being a complete and utter jerk at this point.
Did you see where that charity's up to almost $8 million?
I'll be curious to see where they divert money, because obviously the daycare doesn't need $8 million worth of toys. So I will be curious to see what comes of that.
I just think it's such a cool thing that many people from so many walks of life responded. At a time when, I mean, like, we're watching this deal at the House of Representatives where they can't get a speaker named, and it's just so divisive. And you watch news coverage, and we're told everybody hates each other. We all hate each other, and race and political beliefs and all that stuff.
Name your hot button
whatever
topic.
You want. And then you see this. Here's this 24-year-old young player from Pittsburgh that, unless you were a diehard football fan, you had not heard his name prior to Monday night. And his charity's got $8 million. Pretty damn cool. When people tell you that we all hate each other and that there's no hope.
No.
I mean, I don't think they're right.
everybody was commenting on social media. I mean, social media is a large place. Everybody was pulling for him in one direction. It was the most together the country's. I mean, when our biggest issue with anything on social media that night was Skip Bayless's tweet that was in poor taste, but not completely inaccurate, if you will, at the same time.
No, as the days have gone by, you're like, well, he's right. I mean, the NFL's trying to figure out what do we do.
It wasn't the time.
Yeah, it wasn't the time.
That is it.
Today
so many things are time and place that the same tweet today, I mean, obviously changed for time purposes.
Today was the first day that we could have this conversation because the NFL was able to exhale and go, it looks like he's going to be okay.
Yes.
All right, now what do we do? And they kind of admitted that today's the first day they've really dove in on it. Like, okay, what do we do? And I don't think they know.
Still seems like it's just no contest.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And may make the AFC Championship game a neutral site game regardless.
Oh, really?
That's what I'm hearing.
No matter who is in it.
No matter who is in it.
It doesn't have to be whatever.
There are some rumblings that it's going to be played in Indianapolis. No matter what.
Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. Well, they played in a dome. That way there's no weather.
Okay.
Give all the money to charity.
I'm okay with that,
It's
right?
fine, right? I mean, you can't sit here at one breath go, hey, nothing matters other than his health. And then turn around and go, okay, all that matters is football.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. If all that matters is his health, and that is all that matters.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be okay.
Not over, but going into the fourth quarter, Ole Miss women leading Vanderbilt 57-40 at the Pavilion. So 10 minutes to go in that game, easily wrapped up for the Rebels. They'll win. They'll be 14-2 overall and 3-0 in the SEC following this one. The Doors not very good. They're 9-7, but nonetheless,
you always have to go negative. Such a big win, and you have to go negative. I mean,
it didn't matter if they were playing the Globetrotters or whoever the Globetrotters always played. And
way to go, Coach O. Proud of you. He's not. I am.
Who did they play? Who the Globetrotters always play?
The Washington Generals.
That's right. Okay.
And as a kid, I used to cheer for the Generals. Like, come on, just let them win once.
They ever win? They did, yeah.
They won once, I think.
Was it just once?
I think they won one time.
Really?
They used to come on ABC Wide World of Sports all the time. The Globetrotters. I always played the Generals. I never understood why don't you play the Lakers or somebody?
You ever watched them live?
I've never been.
Have you not?
No, I have in Oxford. They played it at Ole Miss.
They did,
and I saw them
because they used to be in Tupelo a good bit.
Yeah,
that was
it was underwhelming in person.
I don't know who is good outside of South Carolina. I'll just be honest in women's basketball. But Ole Miss going on the road 2 in a row after this. They're in College Station and then Athens, back to back. Play Alabama at home. I do know, like I said, South Carolina is good, and they play South Carolina on February the 19th in Oxford. That is the one game against the Gamecocks.
Ginger points out,
yes,
AFC Championship game put it in Indianapolis. I mean, no, it's natural. You know what you could give the winning team along with the trophy? A great big shrimp cocktail.
Now, if they could just give us a 5-gallon bucket of the sauce to take home,
that'd be fantastic.
I mean, now we're cooking.
It is good sauce.
Like I said, I'd love to make fun, but
have you ever had it with the shrimp?
Yeah, it's great.
It's great. It's fantastic. It is awesome.
It's spicy.
Yeah, it's
good.
No, it's good.
The seasoning is good. The sauce is good. The cocktail sauce is good.
Mm-hmm.
You like the horseradish more than I do.
Yeah.
It's a little creamy for my taste, but it's fine.
I liked it. I was
steak sauce is good on anything but steak.
Yeah.
Don't dare.
It's so good on chicken. It's unbelievable. It's not good on steak at all.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
But it is superb on chicken. Like you can't stop. Seriously, fix some grilled chicken, do it right, and then break out that steak sauce and see if you can cut yourself off after like a couple.
SayNoMos.com, code MPW for the.
Get some chicken tenders, grill them just right, and see if you can stop it too.
It's like a chip. It's like the perfect.
It is. It's absolutely like Lay's or whatever. No one can stop at one.
Yeah, can't eat just one.
It's addictive. Before you know it, you're like dipping every bite. I'm totally serious.
So better than like A1 or some kind of other.
Oh,
Yeah,
not even
like,
close.
yeah.
Maybe the best thing I've ever put on chicken.
Really?
Their steak sauce.
Okay.
And it's absolute trash on steak.
Yeah, it's got a weird.
It's horrible on steak.
There's a strange taste.
I would rather
to
pour
it.
A1 on steak than that.
Yeah. It's almost like a sweet something that
I don't know, but it is absolute perfect on chicken. Why is my phone blowing up? Oh. So that on the screen. Yeah, we can do that.
Do what?
Oh, no, someone asked me a question.
Okay.
I can do it now. It's there. I need to move an ad a little bit. Let's move it on the fly. Move the potato down.
Oh. Okay. In real time, just
There we go. How about that?
I don't know, Kyle. I don't eat nuggets. I could eat a lot of Chick-fil-A strips with sauce, though. If you want to do the strips, it's no problem at all. Chase, what advice did you give Tyler while his wife was solving the problem? What are we talking about?
Oh, you didn't hear about his pipes got in the cold and the freeze. His hot water heater pipes got frozen.
Oh yeah, he and I discussed this.
And
yeah,
he went out with she went out with the hairdryer.
He told me that. Yeah,
and thawed them.
He told me that. Yeah, because I had only a master shower issue that during that 2 or 3 days. Everything else was fine, but that one had frozen up a little bit.
Have you noticed all of the shrubs and stuff? Take a look. Like I was walking the dogs today. Everybody's shrubs look dead. Not just winter dead. They look dead.
Why?
The cold snap.
Oh, it killed everything?
There's a concern that like a lot of stuff's dead.
Like vegetation's not just
that it's not going to come back. Like
really?
When the spring comes and we're ready for everything to bloom, it's not.
Really? I think Augusta's really freaked out right now.
Take a good look. Yeah, like I don't know what kind of weather they got. It got really cold here. I was noticing. I was watching I was looking at different people's like shrubbery and stuff. Everybody's looks the same. Brown.
So I have to dig it up and start over.
Start over with what? Because if the nurseries all got burned too, there's nothing to replace it with. It got really cold for an extended period of time, and it didn't warm up.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not the only person saying
But it wasn't
this.
any colder than it was when it snowed for a week and a half or whatever in 21. You know what I mean?
What were the highs those days?
I don't know. It was pretty damn cold for 2 or 3
cold,
days.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I hope not, but
just keep an eye on it.
Okay.
It's an emerging storyline as we get into April and May.
I'm just setting that up.
I mean, I'm a little concerned. I live with somebody who likes
the vegetation.
She likes things to look a certain way.
Might be out of luck.
And I don't. That's an expense that I'm not. That was not in the annual.
Redoing all your landscaping was not the move.
No, because I
guess it is true. Snow is different than extreme cold. I mean, there is a
I was looking into this year as a bit of a recovery year financially. Going to get one out of college.
Oh,
I get one out of college.
You're good till all the weddings start.
I got time on that.
Okay.
I get one. I'm not thinking about that. Get one out of college. Going to have at least.
You never know. Any day could be the day that it just starts the clock. Just
perhaps
the clock just starts and gets going.
To this point, that hasn't happened. We get one car, maybe two paid off in this calendar year. I mean, I'm not planning to do a big studio expense again this year. This needs to be a recovery year. It doesn't need to be hey, let's drop $20,000 on shrubbery.
Eric asked me what my iPhone game of choice is. I did Wordle for a while. I've completely abandoned that. It lost my interest pretty early on. I do a crossword puzzle every day just to kind of keep my mind. Yeah, there's a crossword puzzle app that I will do pretty much every morning. And then I've gotten into wordscapes, but mostly simply to try to catch a friend who is a lot of levels ahead of me. It's more competition at this point than caring about the game. But yeah, crossword is the one I will do pretty much every day.
Tripp says allegedly the issue was how quickly and extremely the temperature plummeted and the plants didn't have time to adequately prepare.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
Because it went from 50-something to like 7.
Literally, that was the day.
In 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then it stayed there.
So that's a good point. Yeah, it wasn't a gradual.
It was a shock.
Okay.
Because they look burned.
That's interesting. I didn't
I mean, you'll start looking at it and you'll be like, oh, shit. Like, drive around the square. Like those big trees next to City Hall, they look dead.
Okay.
They look gone. I mean, I hope they're not.
And I guess we won't know for sure until.
But they look troubled.
Yeah. Can a horticulturist or somebody repair those kind of things, or is it just once you're dead, you're dead? Like, is that?
Do you follow the Tumors Corner thing? When they're gone, they're gone.
The ghost tree at Bandon Dunes is dealing with something similar to that too right now. It's a big golf story.
Where's that?
In Oregon, Bandon Dunes.
Oh.
The tree that's like their logo. It's in trouble.
I've seen the tree that's the logo for what's the one in Pebble Beach?
Yeah.
Been there, seen that tree. It's a cool looking tree.
Yeah, Wordle just didn't have it. I couldn't quite. I don't know.
What else do we have today?
Nothing. I mean, speaking of, yeah, you get the New York Times. Just went to my watch because it was like a breaking news thing. House adjourns after they lose the 11th vote. I mean, let's try somebody else at this point. Like, what are we doing?
It's an interesting thing because if you're him, you've got 90% of the vote. You just need that last 10% to come over, and they're stubbornly sitting there. And
it's a game of chicken.
And if you're the Republicans, the whole, like, I saw where some of the Democrats were like, why don't we work out a compromise? You're like, no. Are you going to compromise in the Senate? Probably not. You going to compromise in the White House? No. So, no, you're not compromising. You got to stop and figure it out and go, okay, who can we settle on here? But look, we're watching our government system at work. In 1856, they did like 150 something of these votes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People are like, this is absolutely unprecedented. I'm like, no, it's totally precedented.
Yeah.
This is destroying. No, it's not. We're having a conversation.
We didn't have C-SPAN in 1857 to fill us in on the.
But we're having a conversation. I mean, you're literally watching government at work.
I kind of respect like a C-SPAN watcher who goes, I don't want to hear any of you jackasses from any side of the aisle.
Yeah,
I'm just going to watch C-SPAN. I'm just going to close caption this thing and get my.
I'm just going to literally listen to the conversations on the chamber.
Yeah, I'm smart enough. I'll handle it. I'll figure it out.
Tempers were starting to flare today.
Were they?
Yeah, Maxine Waters kind of got up and pointed fingers, and they shouted her down. I was like, oh, okay, good. Let's do this. Someone said, they could go all. I mean, if they can't get the votes to adjourn, they just keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And like they were not this afternoon. I was running on the treadmill watching the proceedings, which was a really weird way to try to get motivated to run. And they were saying that the Republicans, McConnell's people, did not have the votes to adjourn. Yesterday they adjourned, and they won the adjourn vote by 1 vote.
Oh.
So they don't have the votes to adjourn. So they could be like, hey, Dominoes, we're going to keep doing this. That's the way it's written. And then if enough people bail out and don't show, at some point the numbers change, the math changes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when people go, this is unprecedented. No, it's absolutely not unprecedented. Not even a little bit unprecedented. This is absolutely precedented. This is the way it's supposed to go.
Well, look, it's dovetailing on our conversation this morning. And again, I'm not a genius at all of it by any means, but I mean, even if you just listen to whatever the podcast was, or we listened to all the presidential election, the Wicked Game, we did all the Wicked Game. There's a lot of stuff about our history that people don't realize. No, that was like completely normal back in the day. The things that were normal now would be like, oh God, really? Oh yeah, that's how they did it. I mean, it was stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on.
Speaking of podcast, I listened to the one.
I mean, Teddy Roosevelt as president would go out and catch criminals and try to beat them up with his hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't
I mean, Abraham Lincoln
wasn't that long ago.
Abraham Lincoln got shot through his hat because he had no security with him. Just going down the streets of D.C., taking a walk.
Yeah.
Speaking of podcasts, I
Yeah.
almost made fun of the previous two presidents, but I didn't. I was going to make fun of the one that we have now and the previous one, but
Cover all your bases.
well, I was going to say, can you imagine Trump just walking around Washington? Wouldn't go well. And Biden would get lost. So, I mean, see, I did it.
Do you have your sounds? Do you know where they are?
I don't know how to work
Okay.
them. Have you kept up with this University of Idaho thing?
I know the basics, but no.
So they opened the seal. They opened the file today,
Okay.
because how they got the search warrant and how they got the arrest warrant.
Okay.
Holy. Incredible. I mean, this guy stalked that house for like 3 months. And they were able to track his phone based on his history, tracked the kind of car that it was through what they call a camera web or something, like all the Ring cameras and stuff that are all around. They figured out it was a white Elantra.
Okay.
They knew it was 2014 to 2016, white Elantra. So they start canvassing the area. I didn't know this until the other day. Pullman, Washington, where Washington State is only 10 minutes from Moscow, Idaho, which is where the University of Idaho is. And the Washington State kids, a lot of times they go party in Moscow. And so they tracked down a white Elantra at Washington State. And so this guy got on their radar. And so they got a warrant for his phone records. And they found that he'd been all around that house in Moscow multiple times. And on the night in question, they tracked him leaving the Washington State campus. He lived near the stadium where the Cougars play. They tracked his phone to that neighborhood. Then it went off for 2 hours. Then they tracked it back on again, back to Washington State. So at that point, now we're into December, and they're tracking his history on the phone. So he's been on their radar for months or a month. And they track him across the country, have him pulled over in Indiana so that they can get a look at his hands with a body cam photo. They get a search warrant for his family's trash in Pennsylvania. There was one
in Pennsylvania.
There was one at the crime scene. There was a sheath that goes on the knife, and on the snap on the sheath, there was one drop of DNA. I don't know whether it was spit or blood or what, but there was one drop of DNA. One. And they got a warrant to get the family's trash from Pennsylvania. And so I guess someone had licked an envelope or wiped a mouth with a napkin. Sure. And so they did a DNA test on whatever it was that they tested, and it popped his dad. So it was the father, who obviously wasn't the murderer. The father, there was a 99.998% likelihood that he was the father of the person that was in Idaho. And that's how they issued the arrest warrant.
Wow.
Really incredible.
Be a hell of a true crime book one day.
Oh, it will be. And then one of the girls, when I was in Idaho, I had someone telling me about this, that they knew somebody who was friends with that girl's family. One of the girls who was in the house who was not killed, she had ordered DoorDash at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Obviously had been out the night before, was inebriated to a point, heard things, but it was a house where there were 4 girls, and they had friends and boyfriends and stuff.
Just stuff
There was
going
always people going in and out of the house. And there was a dog, and she heard the dog barking, but she thought that her roommate was probably just playing with the dog because they'd all gone out. Some of them had gone to the Sigma Chi house at Idaho,
Okay.
and some of them had gone to this what's called the Corner Bar in Moscow.
Okay.
And they'd all reconvened somewhere around 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning at the house, and then gone to their separate rooms, right? And she saw thought she saw the guy with the mask, but apparently in her state, it
didn't register.
It didn't register. And so she fell asleep. And when she woke up the next day, she saw the bodies and went into the state of shock. And that's where the call was made. So people are like, what took 8 hours? Well, she slept. And he apparently knew she was there and didn't kill her. They apparently saw one another. Bizarre. She heard his voice. She was able to give a description. And so when they went and kind of looked at him, he matched the description. Bushy eyebrows. She said taller than 5'10", kind of an athletic build, but not muscular. And he was 6 feet, about 180 pounds. Bushy eyebrows. He fit the description.
No, I had not seen any of this update today.
So there was always this criticism about the police, and it turns out the police did fantastic work. They knew who they were looking for, but you can't just go arrest somebody. You got to have a case.
Chauncey says he came back to the house at 9 a.m. the next day.
Yeah, came back the next day to check it out. And then he was on this Facebook group. This is the other thing I've read. This was not in the thing today. He was in this Facebook kind of Reddit group, and he kept posting stuff about it. People started getting suspicious of it. Told him he was creepy that you're talking like the killer.
Really?
And they think the guy that was on the probably was him posting.
And it took a while. You would think he probably thought he got away with it.
Oh, probably so.
By that level of time.
It took a month and a half. But they had to cross all their T's.
No priors?
Dot their I's. No. Been pulled over a couple times.
But nothing to this point.
No, nothing criminal. I mean, traffic.
Or violent, at least.
Traffic stops.
Man. Did you ever have a true crime kick where you read a bunch of stuff read those books and stuff? They get to you too much?
No, that's not me.
I like them to an extent, but you can only read one and you got to stop. It's kind of like you with Breaking Bad, because it's not fiction. You're reading true shit. There's a couple authors that do a phenomenal job, and I will read them, but it's
usually pretty dark.
Oh, it's real dark.
That takes a monster.
And it's details. The really good ones, like Anne Rule, the best of all time. She's dead now. She's the one who worked at the call center in Washington with Ted Bundy. They were friends. You don't know any of this?
Mm-mm.
So probably the best. Welcome to Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen. Probably the best true
There's
crime.
a lot of recruiting at rebelgrove.com. You should subscribe at the same price as it was in the Garfield administration.
Probably the best true crime book of all time is The Stranger Beside Me, is the name of the book.
Okay.
Anne Rule, her book. She was a crime reporter, magazine writer in Washington to start her career. She worked at a suicide crisis hotline in her spare time as a volunteer. Ted Bundy worked at it too. So they were close. They worked together late at night. They would talk. They would do whatever. So when his killings had started in the state of Washington, she starts researching them for her job, not realizing that the killer is someone who she had intimate contact with from a friendship standpoint. And she was friends with him his entire life. You can read through where just friends is too strong, obviously, but they had a relationship until he was executed for the most part. And she became by far the most prolific true crime writer of all time. But
The Stranger Beside Me.
it is phenomenal. If you have,
Is it the kind of thing keeps you up at night?
I mean, look, it's about Bundy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Ted Bundy's book. I mean, he's pretty damn out there, but
Yeah.
it's written in a way that it's too strong to say humanizes him because he's a freaking monster in a lot of ways. And I know probably more about Ted Bundy than I should, but he's been romanticized too much for the crimes that he can. Does that make sense? Like, there's a certain romantic quality to him as a serial killer where
Yeah, I know what you mean.
they don't know, like when you look at the deal, she goes, no, we're talking about a sadistic monster.
Yeah.
Of all whatever.
Who took people's loved ones away.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking, had a type. I mean, he was Ted Bundy.
Well, it's like this guy. This guy was conducting an experiment in his mind. I mean, he was nuts.
A woman, a girlfriend, when he was at, I think, the University of Utah, and it's been a while, the facts are going to be a little off here.
Sure.
Broke up with Bundy.
Okay.
He thought that she broke up with him because he was not wealthy enough or socioeconomic enough or whatever for her stature.
Mm-hmm.
He essentially goes to law school, gets all kind of accolades, does all sorts of accomplished things just to try to get back with her and then break up with her. So we're talking about a dude that spent years obsessive compulsive over, and then most of the people he killed had a similar look to her. Everything was based off her throughout his massacres, if you will.
At Florida State.
Well, that's where he was finally. Well, that was, that was probably the most prolific, but he had killed Washington and other places too. Right. He came across after he got out, or he escaped jail twice. So after he escaped jail one of the times, he ends up in Tallahassee. He kills, I think, 3 female students, sorority members at whatever sorority in Tallahassee. And then he was eventually, if I have this right, he killed a younger girl named Kimberly Leach. I think that name's right. It just stuck in my head for some reason. And they finally convicted him the final time because bite marks were identified on her body. And then he was executed following that in Florida. So, but yes, if you're interested in a true crime book to get started at all in the genre, A Stranger Beside Me is the best one.
Daniel, thanks for the super chat. He says, have y'all seen the Redeem Team doc about the 2008 men's Olympic basketball team? It's really good. Shows a lot of Kobe and how he changed the team's mindset. I've seen some previews for it. I have not seen the doc yet.
I haven't seen this either.
I've seen the deal where
I'd be pretty interested in that now.
So do you know about the story of the final game?
No.
So they're playing Spain. And Spain was good. Pau Gasol. And Pau and Kobe were not only teammates with the Lakers, but they were pretty tight. And Kobe in the gold medal game tells everybody during the walkthrough, first play, I'm going to run right through his chest. And all of the teammates like LeBron and Bosh and Carmelo are like, no, you're not. That's your boy. Y'all are tight. Y'all just won a title together. No, I'm going to run right through his chest. I'm going to run right through his chest. And so first play of the game, sure enough, Spain runs a play, and Pau sets the screen kind of at the elbow. And Kobe just runs straight through him. It's a foul, offensive foul on Kobe. I mean, a foul on Kobe didn't matter. It was to set the tone. So the rest of the team was like, whoa, he's in. I mean, this is serious. Like, they were all looking at each other like,
okay,
this dude, he's different. And they won. I mean, Spain was good.
Yeah.
I mean, Spain was good. Like,
it was real.
In an international game, Spain was a threat. And because they had shooters, in the international game, if you can space the floor and you can shoot and you can dribble, penetrate and stuff like that, you can be really, really good. And Spain was legit. And yeah, that team was something. But Kobe was, I always find the most fascinating thing about Kobe is that these superstars, these young superstars, LeBron included, he was their guy. Because Jordan was a little old for them. They didn't really grow up with Jordan. They knew about Jordan, but the guy that they watched every night, if you will, was Kobe.
And both guys, Kobe and Jordan, their motivation and the way they impacted teammates was in a very similar vein. Is I'm going to go all out. I'm going to show you, and you have to match my intensity.
You have no choice.
Yeah. And I'm not asking you to do anything I don't do. I'm right here. I'm here.
Well, in fact, you won't be able to match me.
I mean, Kobe played more mind games than Jordan did. Jordan was a little more aggressive with his. I mean, Kobe was more likable.
Yeah, Jordan was an asshole.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah,
but you did it because you won, and you had no choice.
Yeah, there was a certain drill sergeant nature, whereas with Kobe, that you could grow into more respect. Hey, we're kind of in it together a little more. You weren't really in it with Jordan. You were just a pawn in his game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
That was a different game too. I mean, that was like Jordan when he had to get through the Pistons, and it was super physical.
Yeah.
You go back and watch.
That style of play is not today. That's not.
Well, like there was a play, it was the Lakers Celtics thing I was watching the other day. And I mean, Kurt Rambis is driving to the basket and Kevin McHale just takes him out.
Like runs him over.
I mean, just clotheslines him. I mean, it looks like World Wrestling Federation. And I mean, Rambis gets up like, I'm going to kill him. And I mean, there's this mass of humanity that like, and there's one play where like Byron Scott's driving, and I think it was Bird. I mean, just kills him. Just sends him airborne. And like you see Kareem and Bird and Lambeer and Rodman, like just with some of the stuff they did to like Jordan. It's a damn wonder everybody walked out of there. You couldn't do that in today's game. I mean, it would be no, you're gone, suspended. And I'm not advocating it. I mean, you watch that and you're like, shit, those are big money people that are just getting.
Yeah, protecting the guys a little more now. You can see.
I mean, Kurt Rambis is parallel to the floor.
Yeah, you don't think they'd cause a bit of a stir today if the number 4 guy for the Pacers came through and just took Luka and clotheslined him across the. I mean, it would be.
I mean, Ja Morant goes driving to the basket. Next thing you know, come on. Giannis Antetokounmpo is laid out. No, you can't do that. Making too much money.
Yeah. Your prediction was correct, by the way, this morning. You thought the Grizzlies would probably win that game. There's 7.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. In Orlando, Grizzlies up 107-90 on the Magic. Up 17 right now. And in that one, and then in the big game in Dallas, the Celtics have control throughout. They're up 71-55 on the Mavs right now. In Dallas.
Celtics have had a weird week.
Yeah.
We're at the point in the year, though, that the games are kind of unpredictable. This is not when you make your money.
Yeah. Luka's got 20 and 9 for the Mavs, even though they're down 14, and Jason Tatum has 15 and 11 and 6 for the Celtics. So,
what's Brown have?
I think Bonchero has 28, by the way, for the Magic.
Yeah, he's good.
Brown has 15 minutes. He's 1 of 6 from the field, 7 points, -2 ±, 5 of 6 from the line, 2 boards. Light day.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll open the phones for a little bit, and then we'll see.
Probably emphasis on a little there, but.
Yeah. And I got to start it up here. Let's see how that works.
Try that call waiting thing on your phone, too, to see if that does change it.
Okay.
I don't know. It may not, but I'm just kind of I'm spitballing a little bit.
So go to phone.
Yeah, and there should be like a call waiting thing down there.
Let's see. Getting old sucks.
Getting the spectacles on.
Yeah.
Are they prescription, or are they just reading glasses?
Just reading glasses. I don't even see phone on here. Oh, there it is. So turn off call waiting.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm taking a stab, but we'll see what happens.
All right, that's done. And I'll turn this on. If anybody calls, we'll go from there. I think it's connected. Tells me I'm connected.
Do they have the number? Yeah.
Yeah, it's up.
Okay, we'll see. If not, then we've
covered a gamut of
Oh my
of
God.
topics.
I mean, the headlines tomorrow have so many options.
It's got Ole Miss and Mississippi State on Saturday.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot to say at this point.
No, look, it's simply a matter of whether or not coaching things come into focus and how quickly. That's where this is from an Ole Miss standpoint.
All right, hang on, caller. I got to get you on the. Hey, go ahead.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Austin.
Hey, Austin, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Good.
Lovely.
What's up?
I'm glad to hear that. Well, I just was. Oh, sorry guys. I'm a little behind. My bad. So, quick question. I know it's really weird. It's been a weird football week, but now that we can talk about it, since the playoffs are next week, quick question, both of you. If you had to predict who's going to represent which conference in the Super Bowl, who would you go with and why?
That's a good question. I'll go Niners versus Bengals. And the reason is I think right now those are the two best teams, and I think they're the hottest teams. And yeah, that's what I'd go.
I like the Niners too, and I'm wondering if we're being a little trendy. I mean, the Eagles are still probably the best team as long as Hurts is healthy. I know we've got some questions here.
It's a
We'll
big
see.
if.
I mean, that's the crazy part is the Niners actually might be a little more stable there than the Eagles given the situation currently. And
Hurts might come back after missing a month.
Yeah.
So if he's sloppy for a half, you can lose a game.
Yeah. And then just because they're going to play one fewer game, I'm going to pick the Chiefs out of the AFC. I mean, just simply because they would lose home field in this topic that you're talking about, and that does change some things.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know if there's a coin flip difference between the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Bills. And when you have one team that gets to play one fewer game, I'll go ahead and go that direction.
What about you, caller?
Right.
Austin?
I'd probably go Bills, but I have no idea how they're going to respond after all this. But still, I think if it might be more motivation, frankly. So Buffalo, and in the NFC, I'd say it's a toss-up between San Francisco and Philadelphia. I'd lean 49ers, so Bills 49ers.
The thing with the Bills is not even necessarily the emotional thing. I think they'll rally from that standpoint is that, I mean, at some point, the defensive injuries just build up on you. I mean, you've got Von Miller already out. Now bodies matter at some point on just who you have in the game. And again, when you're talking about these three teams that are so close together, it's two impact guys that aren't out there. I mean, that makes a difference.
It makes them susceptible to a team like the Chargers.
Yeah.
I mean, just in a divisional playoff game when you don't have defensive pass rush, and now your secondary is a little depleted, and you go up against Herbert or Burrow or Allen or I mean not Allen but Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean it's not that difficult to lose a game.
Definitely. I think potentially the biggest sleeper out there right now as far as making a run to the Super Bowl, having a Cincinnati-like kind of push from last year, I'd probably go, as crazy as it sounds, if he can get back on the field, Baltimore. But they've been kind of flatlining as of late.
Yeah, and they're worried today about Lamar Jackson getting back at all.
I don't buy it, but what is amazing about this is that given just their profile as a franchise, the Cowboys have a chance at the 1 seed and nobody's talking about them.
It's true.
I mean, I don't think Dak's going to lead them to a Super Bowl, so I'm in the same boat, but
hey, they can really defend and they can really run the ball.
It's been their formula. Yeah, they've been good at that for a while, but I mean, it is the Dallas Cowboys, and we're just sort of going, whatever. Sweet.
Well, it's because we don't believe Dak can go do it in the fourth quarter of a playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
Last question, guys. Sorry, guys. My bad.
You're good.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So there's these reports going around that due to what happened, and by the way, I think we all agree, just thank God that Damar's okay, but now that that's happened, there's rumors that they're potentially thinking about adding an 8 seed toward the playoffs this year. What do you guys have? What would y'all say about that if you had to say anything?
I mean, I wouldn't like it because you've played with this set of rules all year long, and people might have made different decisions had there been that set of rules in place. Then on the flip side, it's like we talked about earlier in the podcast. You can't say all week that, hey, all that matters is health, and then turn around and go, okay, now that he's healthy, no, all that matters is the rules.
Right.
And so I guess if you add an 8, you go 1-8, 2-7, you just whatever. I mean, you take the bye away, and people work their butts off all year to get the bye. It's why I think at the end of the day, look, especially if Kansas City were to lose Saturday, you got to start talking about finishing that game. You do. You got to start, unless you're going to do the neutral site thing. You've got to start talking about finishing that game.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference. I mean, if you were to say to Cincinnati, do you want to play this game in Cincinnati or do you want to play this game in Buffalo? There's no part of them that go, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, no.
They'd go, we want to play in Cincinnati. And at this point, they would go, hey, thank God he's okay. We think we're about to go score again. We think we're about to be up 14-3. 14-3 wasn't going to win that game. Don't get me wrong, but
it's a good start.
They clearly felt like they were going to go win the game, and that place was rocking that night, you know?
Right. And it was. I mean, I won't go on, but personally, I mean, if you could watch the first 10 minutes of that game and you thought, yeah, I think Cincy's going to win, or I think Buffalo's going to win, you could stand on that. I mean, it was just too early to tell. I thought it was going to. It was shaping up to be exactly what we all thought it was going to be. So I have no idea how
you couldn't. It was about to be 3 hours of freaking amazing NFL football.
That's right. Well, guys, I'll let y'all get back to it. Y'all have a good rest of the evening.
All right. Thank you. We didn't mention this, but speaking of people trying to overcome injury and illness, thoughts with Peyton Hillis, the former Arkansas running back. He remains in critical condition, improving per his uncle, but he saved his kids from drowning. And
in the Gulf, right?
Yeah, and is just off the Mississippi coast, and is still in ICU at this moment, but appears to be improving per family members.
Whew.
So
that's horrific.
Yeah,
I mean, there were people that probably saw that.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, he was in the same backfield with Darren McFadden and Felix Jones.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
it was like Nuts' last teams.
Yeah, he went 8-4 with those three guys in the backfield.
Phil Longo says,
"Yeah, just saying.
Hey, I went.
Phil has company.
Feels like I went 5-7 with
AJ and DK and Dawson and
Van Jefferson. Was DeMarcus Lodge on that team?
I don't know.
They had dudes. Had a decent quarterback. Had a running back.
Hey, Tommy was fine. Jordan was fine.
Wasn't Wilkins on that team?
Was he on that last team?
I mean, it feels like Jordan was on that team. He played in the NFL. He's still in the NFL.
Still amazing he lost a year because of an advisor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look back at that day when you hear the news and go, like, explain that one more time.
Hugh, did you make it through the morning without cussing? You didn't, did you?
No, I don't think so. I think those vices picked up a little bit that morning, didn't they?
Yeah. That's what he said. That's what drove me to drink. People would have said, well, I get it.
Yeah, Hillis was a hell of a fantasy running back with the Browns there for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a good player.
Yeah, he was.
It was a loaded backfield.
Is it Beekman?
Nope. It's Carson.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like he's hacking up a lung.
Yeah, somebody says a former wrestler that died recently after saving his kid from drowning in California.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, Grizzlies lead down to 8.
Oh. I'd turn it on the TV, but I think that would create a copyright issue.
YouTube would not like that even a little bit. That would be 3 minutes to go, 116-108.
That's the NBA, man.
One run.
24-second clock. You can get hot 2-3 minutes. It's one of the great.
I guess it makes it good about the game, right?
Yeah, of course. Hey, who do we have? Whoa.
You calling somebody?
No, I don't think so. Hey, who do we have? Hold on. There's got to be a better way to do this. Hey, who do we have? Then they can't hear me, but they're on. That was weird.
I don't know.
2 calls came in at once is what happened.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Were you calling one of them back accidentally?
I guess I accidentally did.
Okay.
I didn't mean to.
Speaking of the Grizzlies, Jackson has 29 and 10.
If you're the 662-931 number, try again.
Okay. Yeah. Bonchero 30 and 9 for the Magic.
He's been terrific. He's validated the Magic taking him number 1.
What's Chet's timeline? How's that coming?
He's on the floor shooting. He's out of his boot. They've taken the hardware out of his foot. I mean, I think if they were a contending team, they would be trying to get him ready to play. They're not. They don't want him to play. But I think he's on pace to be fine. Going to have a full recovery, they think.
Game has been canceled. All right, so here we go. Let me run everybody through this real quick.
Bills Bengals has been canceled.
Yeah, so I'm going to read through this. This is relevant, and it kind of fixes the Is it messing up?
Hey, caller, who do we have? All right, Grind. Hang on one second. Let me get you connected. Hold on. All right, Grind. Hang on. We got you on. Hang on. Chase is going to read through this playoff scenario here.
Yeah, and I'll be pretty quick with this, or as quick as I can as I can be. So they're canceling the game. That's the first thing.
Okay.
And then here's some scenarios. The AFC Championship game will be played at a neutral site if the participating teams played an unequal number of games and both could have been the number 1 seed and hosted the game should they have played all their games.
Okay.
So basically, if Buffalo, I guess Cincinnati could have not gotten the 1. So if Buffalo is in the AFC title game.
So basically, if Kansas City loses.
Yeah. Because even the Bengals and the Bills playing each other, you played the same number of games.
So it feels like they're basically saying if it ends up being Buffalo and Cincinnati, we'll just play it at a neutral site.
Those circumstances involve Buffalo or Cincinnati qualifying for the game as a road team, it says, as listed below.
Okay.
So real quick, Grind, just hold on. Buffalo and Kansas City, both win or tie, championship would be at a neutral site. Scenario 2, Buffalo and Kansas City both lose, and Baltimore wins or ties. Again, there's a bunch of scenarios. Sorry, let me go to the next thing. This matters. We can get to the other later. If Baltimore defeats Cincinnati in Week 18, Baltimore over Cincinnati in Week 18, it will have defeated Cincinnati, a divisional opponent, twice, but will not be able to host a playoff game because Cincinnati will have a higher winning percentage for a 16-game schedule than Baltimore will for a 17-game schedule. Mm-hmm. If Baltimore defeats Cincinnati, and if those two clubs are scheduled to play a wild card game against one another, the site for that game will be determined by a coin toss. So if they're a 3-6 game, if they're the 3-6 game, they will flip a coin to see where that game will be played if Baltimore beats Cincinnati on Sunday. Does that make sense?
Sure.
You got that?
I mean, okay.
How you feel about that, Grind?
Well, if it comes down to a flip of the coin, all I got to say is folks for the Ravens and Bengals better start going to church so they can have some luck on their side on that flip. If that's the case, because I mean, I don't really know can't say too much about that, man.
That would be the most watched coin toss since Friday Night Lights.
If I'm the Bengals, I'm beating Baltimore on Sunday.
Yeah, I do think that takes care of everything. I do think the Bengals will win.
Yeah, Cincinnati wins the game. None of this matters
because Jackson's not playing. I don't think on Sunday. Doesn't sound like it. And if he does, he's not healthy.
Man, the Ravens, man, I didn't watch because I actually ended up catching COVID. I didn't watch that Steelers-Ravens game, but I saw the result. I'm something's. I'm not. I mean, I don't know, man. I would have thought that Lamar, and he probably does need more help. But man, that franchise just feels stale.
It was kind of stale, and that was felt like a weird moment in that game. I watched that game. It kind of also felt like the day that Kenny Pickett arrived. He had a really good fourth quarter, and he and Najee Harris had this play at the end of the game to win it. That felt like a big moment for the new Steelers, the post Roethlisberger Steelers.
I'm so hyped. Yeah, I'm about to say if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm hyped because I like with Najee and
Pickens.
Yeah, I'm ready for the future.
Yeah, they got Pickens. And it feels like they've got this. He's a hometown kid playing quarterback. Played at Pitt. Kind of feels like they've got something to get excited about. That felt like a big moment for them. That win over the Ravens in the same way that it kind of felt like a big loss for the Ravens watching it play out.
So over under 3.5 more years, Tomlin's still going to be at Pittsburgh?
I think he's at Pittsburgh as long as he wants to be.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because here's the deal with Mike Tomlin is if Pittsburgh in a scenario where they fired him,
yeah,
his agent's phone rings within seconds, and he's got offers within 20 minutes to be the coach of the fill in the blank.
That makes sense. And I mean, and it seems that that he's not gonna finish with a losing record or whatnot. But I like to see him stick around and take this young team, lead this young team into the future. It'd be pretty nice to see.
I mean, they say the only negative thing about him is that you just don't want to mess with him before he's had his coffee. But other than that, he's terrific in terms of running a team and all of that stuff. I mean, again, he would have five job offers within 2 hours.
I can believe that. Man, the last time I called in and talked to you guys, the Rebels were headed up to Fayetteville to play some football.
I remember that. A little bit has changed. A lot has changed since then.
Oh, my goodness. A lot has changed. Hey, but you know what? We were right on that phone call. At the end of the day, we were like, hey, who do we think is going to end up being Auburn head coach? And we was, think it's going to end up being Hugh Freeze. And we probably got off that path a little bit, but we ended up getting back on it, and that's what ended up happening.
I tweeted on that Wednesday night it was going to be Hugh Freeze. I don't know why everybody got so upset. It's what I said. It's what happened. I did. I got the tweet to prove it. I can go back and find it. I said if everything sort of stays the same, Hugh Freeze is the next head coach at Auburn, and I was right.
Hey, and look, man, I'm gonna be there to give you that pat on that back, so.
They're upset at me. They're upset at me at auburnsports.com. I made the mistake of going over there one day, and I was like, had 70-something notifications, and I'm like, no, I'm out. I was like that kid in the Simpson commercial where your granddad walks in, puts his hat up, picks it back on, and leaves. I was that dude. Yeah. I was him. I was like, nope, I'm out.
Oh my goodness, man! What were you? What info were you trying to relay?
I wasn't. I just was kind of going over there to see what was going on, say hello, and then I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm out. I'm good.
So you're going to start. You start a little trouble. Get over there, and
I'm good. My posting days they're way down.
I got you. Well, so I mean, you guys pretty much broke it down over 2 podcasts with the post game, and then, you guys talked about it some more on the other podcast. But I guess, I mean, from me, just as an outsider, next year isn't the year where I'm expecting much from Ole Miss. It's the year after where I'm really looking for Ole Miss to be, a juggernaut. You could say, but I'm guessing that's not going to be the expectation in Oxford now.
It probably should be, but no. I mean, look, they're paying him $9 million, and they raised $10+ million in NIL. So whether it's fair or not, or realistic or not, I think the expectation, like Chase said earlier in the week, is this floor of 9 wins. And when you look at the schedule and you look at the holes on the roster and you look at the offensive line and you look at the defensive line, you're like, I don't know how you get to 9 wins. That's what I say. But
nationally in the conversation into November, whatever that means.
Yeah, and I don't know how realistic that is next year. And I'm with you. If you recruit well enough on the offensive line and you
24 should be really
develop,
good.
you should be damn good in 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily a 12-team playoff contender.
Easily. I think Ole Miss should easily be in that, that hosting, that 5 through what would it be, 5 through 8, I'm guessing?
Yeah,
5 through 8 or host first-round games.
And frankly, next year is going to be another year just like this one. 24 is going to be the first year of the 12-team playoff. And frankly, they've kind of accidentally put themselves in a spot where the first year of it, when everyone's going to be geeked up for it, they should be in it. But next year feels like a growing pains, pay your dues sort of year to me.
I mean, hey, but man, like we're gonna see, it's so much still to shake out and everything. It's just when you look at Ole Miss and how they set up with Junkins being a junior that year, Dart, having another year on his belt in 24, and I don't know what as far as line of scrimmage and Aiden Williams and Perkins to have a full year under their belt, but we'll just see. Now, Neal, it's one thing that you got to promise us, and you have to make this promise, man. You got to keep this promise.
Okay.
No more preseason, off-season Kentucky hype. No more.
No, I'm not. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with Kentucky. I'm gonna shift to somebody else.
He's all in on A&M still, Grind. It's all A&M.
Well, I'm kind of to be fair with you, Neal. I'm kind of like looking around and making sure nobody sees me sliding towards this, thinking A&M might be good.
I know.
Next year.
I know.
I'm trying to make sure nobody see me like maybe sliding towards thinking the Aggies maybe.
Let me make an analogy Chase can understand. It's kind of like if you want to make a good jambalaya, right? You got to have a lot of ingredients. You got to have the right ingredients. Now, there is technique involved, and you have to do it right. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have the ingredients, you cannot make a good jambalaya. No. All I'm saying about Texas A&M is this. All I'm saying, there's a real strong
10-2 is pretty good jambalaya.
There's a real strong chance that Texas A&M does not have people in the kitchen that know how to get this done.
They're going to burn it.
But
they're going to burn the rice.
They absolutely have the ingredients.
Sure.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Sure.
They've got all the ingredients.
They're going 10-2.
I think they could
go.
But
right now, they've been dropping rings and everything.
I think they could go 10-2 if he'll leave him alone. Now that's a huge if.
If Jimbo leaves Petrino alone,
lets him go coach.
Yeah.
Because
look, he's damn good coach. There's no.
I mean, they got talent all over the freaking place. I mean, they got talent that most of the league would kill for. I mean, look at their recruiting.
It sets up for them.
I do too. I think it sets up for them really good. Get off to a good start. Don't stumble in the Arkansas game in Arlington, and you get Alabama at home fairly early in the year.
Yep.
No Bryce Young.
First-year coach at Auburn.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot of reason.
It's two things that I want to get from you guys before I let y'all off the phone. First off,
hey, hold on, hold on one second. A little breaking news with Ole Miss. This is from Tom Dienhart, who's very connected to Purdue. Purdue to hire Ole Miss's Sam Carter as cornerbacks coach.
Oh. It's two to Purdue in a day.
Well, and this is not surprising because, look, Sam Carter left Arkansas for Ole Miss, and it was one of those Jimmy Sexton specials. It was a play. Arkansas wanted to get rid of him. Jimmy wanted to keep him employed. I don't think Lane was thrilled with Carter. So this is probably some manipulation here, but Sam Carter leaving as cornerback coach to go to Purdue. Now, here's where this is interesting. One of the pulls for Jalen Catalon to Ole Miss was Sam Carter.
Correct.
Who was his coach at Arkansas.
Right.
Jalen Catalon, as of this hour, is in West Lafayette, Indiana, on an official visit to Purdue. So
That's potentially negative news in a player way, not just a coach way.
So things that you're looking to watch for.
I mean, frankly, that feels
Yeah.
like a tea leaf. It's pretty large.
I don't know, man. As a fan, I've never known. I never, fully understood how I should feel about coaches who are able to get the guys, but never do much. I'm not gonna say do much with them, but it seems like they're either out of position or it feels like, hey, if this guy would have went somewhere else, he would have got developed better. Because it seems like he's a coach that maybe could get talent, but I mean the talent. I mean once he gets the talent, maybe it is what it is. It doesn't. Or am I missing something? With why he's not so appreciated by his former head coaches.
I think it's some of that. I know more than I can say from kind of both places, but it's there's a lot to it. And look, this whole dynamic with head coaches and assistant coaches can get squirrely in a hurry, and it happens it happens everywhere. I mean, it happens all the time. It happens on winning teams, losing teams, average teams. It just happens. There's a lot of egos in a football locker room, and there's a lot of egos in a coach's locker room, and shit can get weird.
True that. Well, man, over my holiday break while I was in Birmingham, I went to go see the Blazers for their conference opener. And, man, I mean, I know people probably don't want to hear it, but he's doing a pretty good job. I think they lost the night by 2. I want to say they lost the night in a very high scoring game. Only reason I really care is because as a kid, UAB basketball has always been a pretty big thing in Birmingham. Like when Memphis and Calipari used to come to town and everything like that. So people usually try to pack out for the conference opening and stuff like that. But it's just I'm surprised to see what he's doing at UAB, and I mean.
Well, look, I mean,
it's got to be something.
The shame for Andy with Ole Miss is that there was no transfer portal. He would have been able to do. He would have been. He's really good with the portal at UAB, and he probably would have been really good with the portal here.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I just posted that, by the way. So.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Grind, appreciate the call, buddy. As always.
No problem, man.
Okay. Wasn't trying to rush him off, but we're getting closer to the end, and I've got multiple people trying to call, so I was going to try to give a couple other people call in. That's interesting. With
no, it feels like that feels substantial. I mean,
yeah, it's my guess
regarding Catalan.
Yeah, that's my guess. My guess. Hey, who do we have? I don't know whether it's not me because I'm doing the same thing every time, but something's going on with. I'm not crazy about this. I almost prefer the Skype.
Well, they said this morning they didn't hear the ringer.
So when I called Jeffrey, they didn't hear it.
They said they didn't. Again,
well, that's a. Hey, who do we have?
Hey guys, it's live.
See, the Skype connection is nowhere near as good.
Oh. But then Jeffries was fine today.
Hello.
Hey, is this vibing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, man?
Not much. How y'all doing?
I'm good.
Good.
You doing good? I heard the weather was a little dicey in Oxford this week.
Hey, turn your device down. That's what's causing this delay for you.
We good now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying I heard the weather was a little dicey in Oxford this week.
Yeah, it was pretty rainy, pretty wet.
Yeah, we had a thunderstorm down here on the coast about, I can't remember if it was last night or 2 nights ago. So my question is, because I read this morning that the NFL was seriously looking at this 8 teams in the playoff thing, and if they do that, the Saints would technically have a shot.
Is there any mention of that there? There's no mention of 8
No,
teams.
it looks like they are for sure keeping it at 7
Yeah,
teams.
that's not happening. So they've come out. The NFL,
they're not going to do it.
The NFL's addressed it.
They
tonight.
did anything they could do to keep the integrity of at least the bracket the same.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Okay. All right. Well, as soon as I saw that, I was like, so you're telling me there's a chance?
No,
but I mean, at that
we
point,
can now tell you there is no chance.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm going to go back to being sad. Thanks, guys. No. So I'm curious to ask y'all, and look, I know y'all kind of talked about it today. I listened to a little bit of the pod. So say Ole Miss basketball in the next 6 games goes 2-4. Okay.
Yep.
They beat, I don't know who's they got next. Say,
let's call it Georgia.
I think they beat
South
Georgia.
Carolina, lose to State, Auburn, Arkansas, and whoever the hell's after
Missouri's
Arkansas.
after Arkansas.
Oh, that's going to be a loss. Most likely. I mean, Missouri's really good.
Anyway, they go 2-4.
I've never even heard of that guy before. Where's he from?
He was at Cleveland State.
Where's that Missouri coach from?
Cleveland State.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. They did a good job with him. So at that point, do the conversations actually really heat up, or are they going to wait towards the end of a season?
There's no benefit to going earlier. I mean, I think even in a fall apart worst case scenario, it would require Kermit, and not even at Keith's behest, just in general, Kermit stepping down to his own accord.
Yeah,
I don't think you do that too. I mean, honestly,
I do not see that is the only scenario I think something would happen prior to the end of the year. I think otherwise it's written out no matter what.
I mean, look, if they were to go 1-7 or something out of the gate, and there's 2,000 people at the Missouri game, I do think at some point, and I don't even like this conversation because it's not fair. It's too early. Like, what if they beat,
it isn't?
What if they beat Mississippi State and Auburn?
It's a home game.
Then all of a sudden you're 2-2 and you beat Georgia and you're 3-2 and we're having a completely different conversation.
And you're playing Carolina next.
So it's just stupid early to have this. But in the event that something happened where it was just a catastrophic beginning to the season, there's an obvious conversation that you have, but it's too early to have that conversation. It really is. And so I'm going to do the professional thing here and not do this. I'm not going to do this. I'll let y'all do it if you want to. I'm not going to speculate on what might happen because, look, they could go win on Thursday. I mean, on Saturday. And then they could turn around and beat Auburn. Auburn just lost to Georgia. And then they could beat Georgia. They could beat South Carolina. They could lose all of those games. I think we should let the next 6 games play out. Get to January the 24th and then see what they look like after 8 games. If they're 2-6 or worse, there's a conversation you have. But if you're 4-4 at that point, it's not the conversation that you're having.
Right. Yeah. All right, guys. That's really all I had. Appreciate y'all taking the call.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right, I'm going to see if I've got this worked out.
Okay.
Hey, caller, who do we have? Hey.
Hey, it's Amanda and Roy.
Hey, Amanda. What's up?
How are y'all doing? I was listening with Roy, and we were listening to no drinks are involved, so just letting you know that.
Okay.
Anyway, I was listening to Chase talk about the true crime, and Roy and I have been watching the Idaho murder stuff, so it's crazy to me how the guy was in the house and the roommate saw him and, didn't call for 6 hours. I guess it was just like fear. I don't even know. Like maybe she had too much to drink. Maybe she went to bed to just sleep it off. I don't know. I just don't understand. But anyway, I was mainly calling because Chase, I put that book on my list.
Yeah.
So I'm going to listen to your suggestion on the true crime book about Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
But have y'all ever read or listened to Relentless by Tim Grover?
Have not. No,
I have not.
It is amazing. You were talking about Kobe earlier and Michael Jordan. It's about them. So Tim Grover was the coach that coached them. Like not the coach, but athletic trainer kind of thing. It's just amazing. So good, a really, really good read, especially at the beginning of the year, when everybody's like gung ho with their goals and resolutions. So
are you a resolution person?
I am, yeah.
What were do you mind sharing one of your resolutions?
Nope. Nope. So my resolution, I started a little bit before the new year to quit drinking. So I've never been a huge drinker, but real estate and life had gotten me addicted to having a cocktail, every night. And one would sometimes turn into two. And then if I had more than two, the stronger they got. So anyway, I am proud to say that I'm 14 days alcohol free.
Are you trying to quit for good?
I'm trying to take it 30 days at a time and just reevaluate. But, I'm very much a habit person. So I'm trying to break the habit.
Is it just completely cold turkey, or are you trying to replace it with some type of food or gum or something to kill time at that same time
Are you
period?
saying that people that have one addiction will scrap an addiction and start a new one? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, I don't know that chewing gum is an addiction per se, but I'm just curious about crutches and tools. Okay?
I was just asking in general.
It is very, so I feel like I am definitely a habit person, and I kind of trade one thing for another. But for the past 2 years, I've been trying to work on myself, just like, self-care, getting in the gym more, paying attention to things. And I know it's weird, but I do this real estate coaching stuff, and we talk about getting your meds in. So your meds are like your, mindset, exercise, drive, and sleep. Just, just trying to I don't know, I guess pump yourself up.
Oh no, that's
1,000% get it.
Yeah, I mean that's not even. Look, sleep is more important than almost that. We got into a thing in our culture with, hey, no, I don't sleep at all. I work and I do this and whatever, and it's like that's actually really stupid. Like we've learned more and more from a professional sense that whatever your number is, different people need different levels of sleep. But if you're not getting that, you're not being productive and you're not being mentally sharp and trying to ward off vices or addictions or anything else in that period of time.
Absolutely. Like I am not that person, praise God. I as soon as my head hits the pillow, I'm out.
Well, I get made fun of every Thursday night with my seltzer, but one of the reasons why I don't drink very much alcohol anymore was it was all sleep related. It wasn't like I was a drunk or I was making bad decisions. It was that if I had one or even two drinks 2 or 3 hours before bed, I didn't sleep. My sleep numbers were way off. My heart rate was way up. There were clear physical signs.
When you say you didn't sleep as well, or you did not sleep at all?
I would have a hard time. I would be kind of warm. I could feel my body temperature being up a little bit at bedtime. Mm-hmm. And then I would wake up at some point in the middle of the night. I could tell my pulse was higher, and I had a terrible time going back to sleep. I would wake up between 1:30 and 3, and I'd be awake.
3 a.m.? Yeah. Like 3 a.m. was my number. Same thing was happening to me.
See, I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind starts boom. And it's every time it's the same thing. Okay, I need to do this, 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 and this. Or it's like the first year that the girls both were in college together, I was so stressed about college bills that I started doing math. And I'm like carrying the 4, and I'm doing math in my mind about, okay, this is what my account looks like.
Not the ideal time to be fixing these problems.
Well, no, you're not. I mean, yeah.
No.
And so, but that's what I would do. And so I would end up 3:30 in the morning going, oh, screw it. And I'd get up and I'd go start working.
And then you don't sleep.
And then you don't sleep.
Yeah, and
then
then
you're tired, and it affects other stuff.
Yeah. That's the one main thing I can tell since I have not drank alcohol in 14 days is I'm a lot sharper. Like when I was drinking, like whether it be a cocktail every night or not, I mean, it's like I was, fumbling for my words even more than normal and just didn't feel sharp.
It's a huge difference on a lot of things you don't even think about. It's not just about, oh, I had a buzz or I didn't or anything. I mean, it's why I got obsessed with my Whoop. I mean, I started watching stuff every morning going, oh, my God.
I think it's why I have not done the Wara ring.
Yeah.
Is I'm afraid of what it's going to tell me.
Well, I had a buddy one time that it clicked on in the morning and was like, we recommend a lifestyle change.
Really?
And he was like, well, that was pointed. Like, that's.
Yeah, I'd be like, screw you, man. Come on.
Because this one, mine will go like, hey, you hadn't moved lately. It's like, asshole. Okay, thanks. But, it's all good.
Does the Wara ring and
Yeah.
stuff like that, does that count your steps? I've gotten addicted to step counting.
We know Whoop, it's their big thing is they
Oh, yeah.
refuse to count steps. It doesn't do that. Now my Garmin does, of course,
Okay.
but I know I'm wearing 2 wearables. But the Whoop does a thing called a strain number, and their point is steps are not all equal. So there's no reason for
true.
just doing a normal step if somebody is running for 10,000 steps versus just strolling around their house for 10,000 steps. So
Yeah.
what they do is see movement plus heart rate plus respiration, put it all together and give you a score for your strain.
How much you strained your heart.
Yeah, or just your cardiovascular.
Your lungs
system.
or whatever.
Yeah. It goes up to 22 for the day, and then each activity has its own individual score as well. So that is how that.
That's
that
cool. What's it
works.
called?
Whoop. WHOOP. Yeah.
Whoop,
Promo
okay.
code. Hey,
Yeah, I
Whoop.
do actually have a link here that will
Yeah,
give both
there
of
you
us a
go.
free month if you'd like to try it. So feel free.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's
look, I saw-
it's maybe
I saw
too
that.
much data, but it's a lot of data.
That's awesome. I rely heavily on my Apple Watch for all of that.
What I like, and again, I'm really not trying to do some like spokesman thing. What I like about the Whoop is it appears to be much more sensitive and accurate with when you're actually asleep. I think it's because it's better at detecting your skin temperature. Because versus the Apple Watch or even the Garmin that I have on, it's bad about when you're lying there thinking you're asleep, but you're not. And the Whoop seems to be much more dialed in on when you're actually asleep versus when you're simply in bed trying to sleep.
I'm going to have to check out the Whoop. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I saw that lady's comment on the chat because Roy and I are watching this like on the TV. Wanted to know how I made it through the holidays with family without drinking. It was not easy. I had a lot of tonic and lime.
Did you catch yourself like grabbing more Christmas candy or chocolate or anything just because you didn't have a cocktail?
Maybe a little bit more hard candy. Like I'm
Okay.
a hard candy person.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
you definitely can tell. You can definitely tell like your body misses the sugar.
Yeah.
You know?
See, wine and stuff, what it does to me is if I have a glass of wine, it's very calming.
Mhm.
I'm cool. If I go to 2 glasses of wine, I'm still all right. If I get to the next one, I start getting hungry. And then I make bad
Then
food.
you got a problem.
I do the 10 o'clock bad food choice, which leads to me waking up the
Yeah.
next day pissed off at myself. And now I go to the gym, and instead of running 6 miles, I run 10.
So the number is 3. We stay away from 3.
Yeah, I mean, if I go 2 glasses, I'm cool. I'm good. I don't think it. I don't think it
Okay.
impacts me negatively.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying the same thing, but then it got excessive, and I was having 2 vodka tonics at night.
Yeah,
I mean, Neal's going, that's Tuesday. What are you talking
I
about?
mean,
I don't know. Like,
That's,
whatever.
that sounds like Wednesday to me. I mean, so it's good.
Well, I was having like a whole bottle of Tito's like in 4 days, and I was like, this is not good. Can't be good.
You're saving some money too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else going on? Did y'all have a good
I mean-
holiday? Everything was good?
We did. We
Okay.
did. We went to Mississippi, went to the casino for a couple of days.
That's good.
Win or lose.
What about you guys? Probably lost a couple $100. Roy got, he came out even, but I would say I lost a couple $100.
That's paying for entertainment, though. That's still close enough to even. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
You're fine. It's all good there.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, free room, and my parents had the kids, so it was a nice little getaway for a minute.
Yeah,
That's good.
I get it.
Well, Happy New Year to you. Thanks for the call.
Y'all too. Bye.
Bye. All right, you want to shut it down there as we get close to 9 o'clock, or you want to? We can do the one more call if y'all want. We'll take one more. I think I don't even want to jinx it. I think I've got it quasi figured out. I had to restart it. That's what happened.
Yeah, her husband's Roy. He was in the room.
Yeah, Roy was in there. We heard Roy a little bit.
They're both watching.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
You got saved by the bell right there. I was about to ask a question, but I won't.
I saw what you were going to.
Saved by the bell. Who do we have?
Hey, it's Cole in Houston. How y'all doing tonight?
What's up, Cole? We're good.
Well, I hate to break up the laughter with a more serious question. Didn't know when I called in they were all be laughing. So my apologies on that. Chase, what do you think? I've always wondered this: if the baseball team had won one more game in the regular season, to say they win the South Carolina game or one of those Alabama games, and they're 15-15, there's no sweat on Selection Sunday, they still play with that same tenacity they played with in the postseason?
Yeah, because they
or did it take going near death to get that? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think so because look, I mean, did that matter? Sure. I mean, they did. They played loose. They played tough. They did not have the same sort of monkey on its back that they've had in a lot of other years.
Kind of.
But here's what happened. When you really break it down, they had a really, really good offensive team that found a lot of juice at the right time, and they figured out their pitching. I mean, in a lot of ways, it just took a while to get everything sort of in the right place. And it took so long that they thought they were out of time. I mean, you look at this thing, during that losing streak, Hunter Elliott didn't pitch against South Carolina at all, did not throw a pitch. Dylan DeLucia didn't start against Alabama. I mean, there were lots of ways where they simply didn't put it together. And that format suited them so well with two starters as long as you stay out of the loser's bracket because they only had to pitch the third guy one time.
And they got a really big hit in the first game.
Chatinier. Yeah.
That was a big hit.
Yeah.
Because if they lose that game, they don't.
Because they were kind of flat against Arizona and just got through it.
Yeah.
I mean, DeLucia got banged around, and Chatinier had a double and a home run, and both were huge.
They were huge.
Maybe a triple, actually, now that I think back. But either way.
It was like seventh inning, they were behind, and he had the big hit. And then after that, it was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they had the really close game, and they won it. And then after that, they were like, okay, well, we're in the winner's bracket.
And they got Arizona, not Miami.
Right. And then they played Southern Miss. They played they caught a great break. They played a team that was not from a power conference.
And pitched their ass off.
Yeah. And then, the rest.
It gets, So, I mean, yes, but there was some baseball stuff that played into that I do think sometimes we get obsessed with the story and don't kind of look at it and go, they're really good, and they just had to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wrote about this in my end of year thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost 2 out of 3 in Fayetteville, but they could have they could have swept the series.
Yeah.
And they were good. They were a good team. They could have swept it. They could have been swept. I mean, but the point was they were super competitive with the team that turned out that. I mean, it turns out that Arkansas will probably tell you, "Hey, we were 1 game away from winning the national championship," and they kind of were. So, I mean, they were right there. I mean, it's like the deal with the poll that's out now, where half of the SEC West is in the top 10. I mean, they're all really good teams. It's just there's a certain degree of luck that gets involved and getting hot and stuff like that.
The one pitch that is fascinating on that whole season to me is in the first inning against Missouri when they got bailed out on the strike 3. It was a ball that was 3 to 4 inches outside. If it's called a ball, they walk another guy in. It's 3-0, bases loaded in the first inning. 1 double away from 5-0, 6-0. And if you lose that game, the season is over right there.
Because I remember calling you going, that was not a strike.
Yeah, no.
That was like such a break.
They got bailed out and only were down 2-0 or something, and it went okay, and then they hit, and it sort of went from there. But that pitch, looking back, was huge.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always wondered if it had to do with. I mean, obviously, it had to do with talent. They didn't get ranked number 1 in the country for no reason. But I was kind of curious if that near-death experience is what a lot of the places are loose. But
yeah, I just think they would have gotten it anyway because they still would have had to have swept LSU and Missouri, and they did that. You know what I mean? Like they still had those weeks where they were underwater and trying to find a way to survive.
Very true. Very true. I guess one other thing I was curious about. I used to think back in the day that Bianco, had a kind of a short leash with pitching and didn't trust enough pitchers. And you get to the postseason and the guys were really tired. Didn't too much wear and tear on their arm. Do you think that Lane Kiffin in some ways are doing the same? He probably just needs to trust more guys. Like I know that he would, if he was on this show, he'd laugh at me and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. And he'd be right. But that maybe he needs to just trust more players, to have more depth. When you get to the end of the season, your team isn't playing 90 snaps a game and just exhausted. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I generally agree, but for whatever reason, that's just not his style. It's not what he does. That's not what his staff does. They did it more on defense than they did on offense.
Offensive was nobody.
He just doesn't.
The question you have is he doing it out of principle, or is he doing it because he does not trust any other guys? And what is the combination of those two things?
All right. Only at some point in year 3, it's not really me arguing with you. It's just kind of in general. Year 3, you need to have more guys that you can trust.
Oh, sure.
And at some point, like, I don't know that the guys here recruited are like, are they really that bad? They don't trust anybody. Like, I really don't know. He plays different form of football than I do, but it just from the naked eye, it really seems like they need to trust more guys and develop more guys.
Well, they certainly need depth. There's no doubt about that. And that's the thing with the portal is, can you recruit depth out of the portal? And I guess we'll find out soon.
Right. Well, I appreciate the call. I've been needing to call about the baseball thing, and I had church on Sunday night for all the fall, so I wasn't able to call in. So really glad Thursday night. So
thanks.
Glad to.
Yep.
Take that, and Chase, thanks for the book. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. It's a good show. There's a lot going on. Sam Carter leaves. According to Tom Dienhart, he would know. He's tied in tight with Purdue. If he tells you that something's happening at Purdue, it's happening. I mean, he just is. He's got it. So we'll be watching that. I don't think that's the last coaching change for Ole Miss. Frankly, I think that's the way you'll see coaching changes happen. I don't think Lane's, quote, firing people. I think there will be some people who will be given opportunities to leave. The coaching convention starts this weekend in Charlotte. There might be some activity there. There's some guys coming in on visits. We'll see how this impacts Jalen Catalon. I suspect it does impact him to some degree, at least, with Carter, who coached him at Arkansas, now going from Ole Miss to Purdue. Jalen is in Purdue right now. There's other guys coming in, including a couple of quarterbacks this weekend. So we're working on all of that at rebelgrove.com. We'll have that content to you over the course of the weekend, I hope. Ole Miss basketball on Saturday with Mississippi State in Starkville. We'll have coverage. I won't be there at the game, but I'll have coverage of the game to you on Saturday, and then we'll be back on Monday with the Oxford Exxon podcast. We'll preview the national championship game, Georgia and TCU. We'll talk about the NFL playoffs. I guess will be set at that point.
Know. Yep.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Ole Miss and State and whatever else happens to come up, recruiting and other things. Don't forget, Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating make this show possible. Call Comer at 662-801-1777 if you live in the Oxford, Batesville area. Southern, if you are in Memphis, Hernando, DeSoto County, 662-429-4429. For Chase Parham, I'm Neal McCready. Talk to you on Monday.